Hey, good day, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook here with another relentless pursuit of truth, logic, and common sense on the Tuesday night Illinois Freedom Caucus live stream and Roundtable and Town Hall. So, with that, I'm joined with Chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Chris Miller, and Dan Calkins, State Rep from Decatur. Gentlemen, thanks for joining. Chris, what's going on?
Well, it's great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation we're going to have this evening on the Veto Session wrap-up. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be filled with information and exciting news.
Non-stop fun and frivolity. Dan, what's a good word?
Lots of things. Had our first Christmas parade Sunday up in Hayworth. They want to be first, and by golly, nobody's going to get a Christmas parade ahead of the folks in Hayworth. Good time, big crowd. We're out walking with Regan, getting petitions signed, working hard. Lots of constituent questions, obviously, after veto, and hopefully we'll clear some of that up tonight.
Right, exactly. Yeah, boy, it's been a great Indian summer, and I would think it would be hard to get in the mood of Christmas when it's 50 and 60 degrees out in mid-November, but so be it. Yeah. All right. Hey, guys, let's just get right into the slide set. I'm going to bring them up here. Like has been mentioned, it's week 2 of the veto session. We're going to have a little recap here on some of the big issues. And let's start with this. One big bill that was vetoed by the governor was the lifting of the ban or the removal of the ban on nuclear power plant construction. Passed by fairly wide margins both times last spring, but actually it was new language, right? This wasn't the same bill, but there was new language that came out of the Senate. And so, gentlemen, what's your thoughts on this nuclear ban removal or lifting of that moratorium on construction?
Well, the governor vetoed the original bill because of the pressures that he got from the green energy side, these liberal activists that don't like nuclear energy. So he vetoed the bill. They redrafted it. They put in more restrictions and more study groups and more this and more that to appease those folks. I think in the end, it's a great thing to happen. We're letting the world know that Illinois is open to these new modular nuclear reactors, and let's see what the market brings. I don't know that any of that stuff will actually be useful when 5 or 6 years down the road, when this technology becomes commercially available.
Right. So I guess the one big number was 300 megawatt cap on the output production. I don't know just how relevant that is. Just to give a point of reference, the Prairie State Energy campus that's down in southwestern Illinois, that is a coal-fired plant that went online in 2011. That plant is a 1600 net out, 1600 megawatt net out. And so, the cap is dramatically smaller than current facilities, but it would probably be close to what the Springfield CWLP plant. I'm not sure exactly, but it seems like that's in the 400 to 500 to 600 net out. I think maybe a CWLP in Springfield. I'm not sure exactly that number, but might be more liking to that. But those if we find folks that want to come and build, there may be up for legislation to make that more tolerable. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that? And we'll move on to the next subject.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that what we always hear in Springfield is this may not be a perfect bill, but it's a start.
It's a place to start.
This is a start.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it is a good place to start. What was interesting was the debate of the sponsor, the Democrat sponsor. I think he used the words that this is a carbon zero. There's no carbon emission here. So they were kind of leaning to this as clean energy. So I think that was a step in the right direction to have those words spoken on the House floor about this. So, yeah, good stuff. Other big issue was electing the Chicago School Board. This has been a matter that the mayor of Chicago has appointed the members. I'm not sure the current makeup of the board, but I think the new board is to have 22 members, maybe from 11 districts. Do I have that right, gentlemen? How do you recall what happened here on this bill?
I think it's 20 districts with two. It's kind of like the Senate and the House, our Senate districts, and then 2 House members. So I think they're trying to carve up the Chicago into 20 large districts, and each district will be then carved into 2 sub districts. And a member would be a representative would be elected in each of those 2 districts. This is the most convoluted, unbelievably complicated, unworkable project that I think we've seen in Illinois since they cut the size of the House and the Senate. When they did away with the representation. This thing will be fought and fought and fought for months. So nothing that we pass or the Senate passes, I don't know how they're going to reconcile it. And the people in Chicago are fighting amongst themselves, and I say let them do it.
Right. So when we went into veto session a week ago, there was the Senate president and the House Speaker had differing versions on how to do this. Like you say, Dan, they're disagreeing, they're fighting amongst themselves. No clear-cut way to do it. They've put this on the November ballot. At this point in time, is to be on the November ballot, not going to be in conjunction with the regular city of Chicago elections that happen at a different time. So lots of I don't know what I want to say there. Lack of agreement maybe is kind of maybe the word. So yeah, lack of agreement.
I think the word's chaos. I think it's chaos. And then they threw gasoline on the fire when they announced that they're going to pay these school board members a salary. That all of a sudden, everybody got everybody's attention, and now they're fighting over a jobs program. It's not just about the kids. It's not about the schools. Now it's about who's going to get paid to be on the Chicago School Board. Another wrinkle. These people, they're so disingenuous. You just have to laugh and stand back and watch this thing implode.
Mm-hmm. And then there was discussion about, can a member of the teacher union, can an employee of the school, can they serve? There's, again, more places for disagreement. And so stand back and watch and get out of the way and see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it can't get any worse. Chicago schools are terrible. Their kids are failing. They're not teaching to standards. They have several completely empty schools that are fully staffed. Because they don't dare do away with those jobs. The union won't let them lay anybody off. I mean, it's a, I don't know what you want to call it. My first thing comes to my mind is that, central government planning, communism, these people completely lost their minds and lost control for sure.
Yeah. This all makes perfect sense if you have the proper presuppositions in your mind before you start looking at this. Is their goal is to eat taxes and not to educate the next generation. If you understand that from the get-go, then this all makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and they don't want an educated electorate for sure. I mean, that's the last thing they want.
They want.
Well, and did any of you gentlemen hear about how this was going to improve outcomes by doing this? Did anybody in all this discussion last week, was there any discussion about how it was going to make things better for the kids? I didn't hear that.
Nope.
And we, you've heard us talk about in the past this report that I believe WirePoint's put out that 30 schools in Chicago, not a single kid could read at grade level, and over 50 schools, not a single kid in those schools could do math at grade level. So I'm sure this is going to make it all better. It's got to make it better. Let's leave that one alone. Let's move on to the next subject. This is what's still left on the table. Kids and border security. So the big talk, we were trying to get the Invest in Kids bill extended, or that program extended last spring. We left the end of May with no extension, no permanency. Came back this fall, hoping that we would get that. And gentlemen, the kids came up on the short end of the stick this go around. What's your thoughts there on Invest in Kids?
Well, one thing that I think that the good thing about this is the legislators on both sides of the aisle are being exposed, because this this whole event was all theater. This bill was never going to pass. It was never going to get called. Nothing was going to happen, but they were trying to create the illusion that they care and they were really going to do something. But I think that the interesting part of this is it shows that the legislator is not about the students, the parents, or society. It's about the teachers, the administrators, and the employees, and the other special interest groups that drive this whole narrative.
Mhm.
I can't. Yeah. Well said.
Well, again, so just to recap the history of how Invest in Kids came to be back under Governor Bruce Rauner, there was a push to create a new funding formula. And so that was the evidence-based funding formula. But to get enough votes on it, they put this Invest in Kids program out there with a 5-year sunset. And it's $100 million, up to $100 million of private donor money to be directed into a scholarship fund, and the donors would receive a tax credit. What's interesting, gentlemen, is this program, was needed to get the votes to pass the new school funding formula. It sunsets the end of December, but I don't think the evidence-based funding formula, I don't think there's a sunset on that. Or at least we've not heard about that. And that it adds $350 million every year. And that's stacked, right? So the first year, 350,
Right.
the next year, 350 plus 350. The next year, you take that 700 million and put another 350 million on there. And that continues to stack out. We seem to have
Right.
plenty of money for that, but not to give kids a chance to excel in a different learning environment. They're kind of stuck where they are.
Right.
This whole event was created to cause there to be an illusion that there is local control. And if you, it's like I said, if you start with the proper presupposition that this is not about the kids, it's not about the student, it's not about education, but what this is all about is to tap the mother lode of property taxes to fund the insatiable greed appetite of the education establishment. And that's what this is all about. That's the only, follow the money. I mean, when you think about it, there's been over north of $21.5 million invested in buying legislators. Follow the money and you will find out why this bill didn't see the light of day. It's
Right.
because these legislators are bought and paid for by the teachers union and other special interest groups that are driving this whole bus. I mean, there have been 1.5 million since the 1st of June invested in buying legislators, and they were successful in getting it done.
Yeah, Chris, that may be a little bit more truth than we can handle out there today. But it's all factual, right? Those are disclosed for numbers for everybody to see. So if they wonder why stuff happens or it doesn't happen, it's follow the money. So yeah.
Most of the time, if you follow the money, you'll find out the answer. I mean, this whole event was strictly theater. 100% theater in retrospect, because it was crickets back in the spring sessions, and it's been crickets. And every now and then somebody might make a statement to try to create the illusion that they care and they were really fighting for the kids. But there was nobody fighting for the kids except for the Illinois Freedom Caucus.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And the kids and the parents.
Yeah, and the kids and their parents.
Yeah, and to their credit, there was times that they rallied quite a bit down in Springfield, and we could hear their rally in the chamber. Almost, I mean, there was times when somebody would speak, and you could hear when the rally was amping up, the speaker, whoever was talking at the time on the PA system, you could hear their voice go up to try to be heard over the chatter outside, because these kids are in a kind of a tight spot. Their life is going to change in 7 weeks.
Not not just the kids, but the families.
Right. Everything's going to change for a lot.
I mean, you talk to moms and dads that were there with their kids,
right.
begging, literally begging Democrats,
right.
and some Republicans to get this bill called, to get this program extended. I mean, literally
Yeah.
begging.
Right.
These kids that are in this program and the ones on the waiting list are going to be kneecapped for the rest of their life, because if you don't have a good education, your opportunities are minimal, and they're already trapped in failing system. And this was a way out of the system. And none of this stuff the outcomes aren't going to change until there's competition for educational dollars. And competition has a way of fixing things. And it would be, one of the reasons why that they don't want anything to the government schools want to try to stifle anything to do with competition, is because they're being exposed about how poor a job they're doing at educating the next generation.
Right.
The data is available. It's not anything that we're making up. The data's out there, and I encourage you to go look at the data for yourself.
Right. Yeah. New numbers were released about a week and a half ago. So it's on the SB website for all the world to see. And I don't see a lot of improvement there. And that's really a discussion for another day as we kind of move forward. The other deal is the illegal aliens that are flowing in the city of Chicago, flowing in the state of Illinois. Back the mid of October, Illinois DHS released a number. They estimate this healthcare that's in the budget for $550 million. They now estimate it, the true cost will be $831 million. So that's a $300 million budget buster right there, gentlemen. And the border continues to be open. I think the mayor and the governor have sent a letter and went to the White House, but what did they? It's just kind of multiple choice, right? They could say, "Hey, either close the border down, Mr. President, or send us more money." What did the governor and the mayor what was their choice?
Come on, you know exactly what this is. This is another money grab by the state of Illinois to try to fund these far left agenda projects and extending healthcare to the illegals that are in this state as a priority over taking care of the people that are here, that pay taxes, that pay property taxes, that are on the PUNS list for services for the developmentally disabled. None of that is a priority. The only priority is attracting and providing healthcare and services to illegals who have flooded into this country because the Biden administration has got an open border. It's not going to end well. Security is going to be a problem. Our social services are overwhelmed, and they're going to continue to be overwhelmed. And there's no money. There's no amount of money that can fix it in this state. So we're, we'll see what happens. And, when people are given services and given benefits, and then those benefits go away, you see what happens. And I project that that's what's going to happen in Chicago, particularly because that's where the concentration is. But when this money runs out, when these benefits run out, these people are going to get organized and be organized by the community organizers up there, and it will create chaos. So I don't see a good ending on at all.
I don't either, Dan. And that's, it's just a snapshot of the America Last agenda that's brought to all of us by the Biden administration, and the Illinois Last agenda brought to us by the Pritzker administration. And this is all at the same time when our kids, and our grandkids are struggling to pay their bills. They're struggling to buy health insurance. Every quality of life issue that they deal with on a daily basis has gone down since J.B. Pritzker has been the governor of our state and Joe Biden's been the president of our nation. And it's a real problem. It's real. when it hits our pocketbooks, and all these people are getting free stuff all the time while our own kids and grandkids can't pay the bills, and friends and neighbors.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think,
go ahead.
go ahead, Brad. No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you know, the city of Chicago has had financial problems for years. This didn't do anything to make it better. Hundreds of millions of dollars going into support in housing and all the other things, the pressure it's got to be on all the infrastructure, law enforcement, XYZ, you know, trying to, you know, house, clothe, feed these folks, you know, let alone all the drugs, all the sex trafficking that's going on, the death that's being, you know, this is not putting people first. Chris, you nailed it. Dan, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you know, we're out, and, you know, as you are, both of you are, you know, we're out knocking on doors, getting petitions signed. We're at community events. We're doing parades, pancake breakfasts. And right now, the biggest issue that I'm hearing about are property taxes, because every taxing body is now putting forth their next year's levy. And we're seeing 3, 4, 5% increases in property taxes that people have, that it is going to be a huge strain on for people to be able to afford to keep their homes, to stay in Illinois, to pay their property taxes, to live, particularly retirees, people on fixed income. This is going to, this ripple effect that the state has created by all of these mandates and all of the problems that they've created by not properly funding the things that we should be doing, and having this priority of taking care of these folks that are in this state illegally, in this country illegally. Next year is going to be a very, very difficult year for people in Illinois on fixed income, particularly, and the hardworking families. I mean, this is going to be, 2024 is going to be very tough financially.
Right. Yeah. And if you want a window into what that looks like on a larger scope in the nation and the world, just read Carol Roth's book, You Will Own Nothing by 2030. And it is, it'll make, don't read it before you go to bed. You want to read it around everything. So, yeah. Hey, let's bring on our next slide here, gentlemen. And so no answers. We're halfway through the gun registry. This started October 1st with a January 1st deadline. ISP had instituted some emergency rules. They've started going before JCAR, the Joint Committee on Rules. And we're operating under emergency rules, 150 days that went into effect immediately. We don't have permanent rules, but a week and a half ago, the ISP had 3 different hearings across the state, Springfield, Chicago, and Caseyville. And so we hear a lot of check the website, check the frequent asked questions. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the gun ban or the gun registry that's in full motion here?
Well, I know that you and Representative Hallbrook and I attended the hearing there in Springfield a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was. And my takeaway was there was a lot more questions than there were answers.
Right.
I think the answers to several of the questions were, that's going to be your state's attorney. People ask, so ISP, are you going to be taking, you know, what's your role? How are you going to enforce this? What's the enforcement mechanism? And the answer was that your local state's attorney is going to be the focal point of this.
Yeah.
102 counties, 102 state's attorneys, over 90 of them, and the sheriffs in those counties have said they do not have the time, the resources, or the inclination to pursue law-abiding citizens. They are too busy fighting crime, protecting people in their homes and in public, understaffed, underfunded, and you know, this is not a priority for them. So we have state's attorney elections, as I tell people, and as we travel around the district, every state's attorney is up for re-election or election for candidates. And before you vote for someone, you need to know where they stand. Where do they
Right.
stand on the Second Amendment? Where do they stand on your constitutional rights?
Right.
Because that could very well be our first line of defense until the Supreme Court overturns this egregious attack on our Second Amendment rights.
Right. Yeah. And so there's still a comment period that can be done. We'll get you a link put up into the comments of where you can send comments to, I think, through the 20th of November. And I would just keep mailing them comments and questions. But I think the underlying message here at the bottom of the slide is many folks are telling us they're just not going to comply. They're just not going to comply because this is just egregious. Guys, I think it's an 85-page document when you print it out with pictures and descriptions of these firearms and the silliness of it. I say the silliness of it, but there's parts that can be used on airsoft guns that are part of the ban.
Right.
Some different hand grips and the like. Okay, so how's that going to work?
Same with magazines.
Right.
There are Glock magazines, 15-round Glock magazines for pistols that are supposedly compliant that will fit in a rifle. So is that a rifle magazine or is that a pistol magazine?
Right.
Does that Glock 9mm magazine that fits in my Glock 19 or whatever,
Right.
and will also fit into a rifle?
Right.
So which magazine is it?
Right. Again, chaos, no clear-cut answers, and we wait it out. So, hey, let's move on to our next slide. Town Hall. We got a Freedom Caucus Town Hall in East Central Illinois in the town of Arthur this coming Thursday night at the Arthur Christian School, 6:30. This is, I don't know, this is the 5th or 6th one we've had across the state this summer and fall. So just want to invite people to come out to that. And
Yeah.
hopefully,
Come have a great conversation. Meet members of the Freedom Caucus. We look forward to hearing questions and concerns from our citizens. We're doing the best we can to represent you, and we appreciate everything that folks are doing to help us. But here's an opportunity to come and see us in person.
Yeah. Will there be an autograph signing period there at the end?
I think Miller is bringing pictures for this to hand out. I think Chairman Miller, you can get, I think is it $5, Mr. Chairman? You can get a picture with the chairman.
However you feel,
We will offer. So here's where you can find out all about us at the website, IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org. And then you just tag on a /donate, and you can help us to continue to get the message out about truth, truth, common sense, truth, logic, and common sense. And so, So, hey, we're in the final minute here. Dan, give us a closing comment as we close out here in the final 60 seconds, and Chris, and then we'll sign off for the evening.
Well, that's great. Thanks for putting this together again tonight, Brad. Look forward to seeing you in Mount Zion tonight. Brad, for everybody listening, if you hop in your car right now and drive over to the convention center in Mount Zion, you'll see Brad in the town hall meeting. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody come to our Freedom Caucus town hall on Thursday night. It could be a great event. A lot of enthusiasm in that area, and we look forward to just come on down.
Right, exactly. Chairman Chris Miller, what's going on? Wrap us up.
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Voice of Reason this evening as we continue the pursuit of truth, logic, and common sense. Sometimes the truth is a little bit awkward, but it needs to be stated. So anyway, thank you, and have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, gentlemen, again, it's great to work together. We had a good week last week. Looking forward to going back in January. And, I just want to extend the invitation to our viewers out there. Not only, we always make the plea, right, to like, subscribe, share, follow all of our content. That helps us overcome the algorithmic gods of the big tech overlords. But we want you to come to Springfield this spring. The General Assembly calendar for next spring, starting January the 16th, is posted. Let us know. We'd love to have you come up for the day and experience what it's like to be in Springfield for the day. Come to some committee hearings, see floor action, and just be a part of that. Gentlemen, with that, we're going to go to close out, and we'll talk to you real soon. Here we go.